Hey everybody, welcome back to Jeff Bowles Central. We're doing our official top games of the year 2023 video. Number one is my official video game of the year. It was a great year for games, so I had to do 5 this year. Last year I did 3, but this year there's just too many good games. I played a bunch, I reviewed a bunch here on Jeff Bowles Central. There could be honorable mentions too, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to hit you with what the best is. So, dig in, get some soda and some snacks, and enjoy Jeff Bowles Central's top 5 games of the year. Thank you very much for watching. Hey everybody, welcome back to Jeff Bowles Central. We're checking out Hogwarts Legacy today. Kind of an exciting one. I have been looking forward to this game a very long time. I don't know how you feel about Harry Potter. I don't know how you feel about J.K. Rowling. There's a lot of controversy going around. Not going to talk about it here. Just going to assess this game on its own merits and how well it reproduces, basically, because it's a franchise game, right? How well it reproduces the wizarding world, how well it reproduces the world of Harry Potter. I'll just go ahead and jump right in and tell you that it does a really, really good job with that. Like, an amazing job with that, actually. So, like I said, I've been looking forward to this one for a while. I'm a Harry Potter fan. I like Harry Potter a lot, and I kind of grew into liking it. I was a teenager when those books started to get really, really popular over here in the United States. But, you know, I resisted them at first, but I grew to love them kind of enormously. I actually love the Harry Potter story. Again, I know there's a lot of controversy to go around, but mostly it's controversy because people love it, right? And you know, the author is now controversial, so people don't know how to feel about it. But I'll just say that the detail, and I just want you to look around. Look at this little bit here, because the detail that you see in this recreation of Hogwarts, and the whole school is there. Every nook, every cranny, everything that's mentioned in the books, everything you see in the movies, those slightly redesigned, everything's there. All your abilities, all the magic, everything that Harry and his friends and his mentors and his enemies could do, you can do, including cursing people, including incredible magic, including riding a broom, excluding Quidditch, however. It's the only frustrating thing about this game for me is there's no Quidditch. There's a lot to be said about they already have the broom mechanic. I don't understand just like throw in the actual game that goes with the broom. But I get it, because there's a lot here. There's an enormous amount here. The storyline is kind of classic Potter, not really as good as the original storylines, but still pretty fun, pretty good Wizarding World story. And like I said, it functions very, very well as a video game experience, as a Harry Potter experience. I mean, this is better than the Wizarding World at Universal Studios, okay? This is like actually being in it. You get to be a student. You get to meet the ghosts. You get to meet Peeves here. It's so exciting. Like, I'm sorry, but I'm really enthusiastic for this game. It is primarily an action game, okay? So that means that it's not so simmy as some people really do want it to be. Like, I've been playing it, and Carrie, my wife, has been watching, and she's been fantasizing about it being more of a sim where you actually get to be a student instead of some badass, hyper-powerful 15-year-old mage character who can, like, battle dozens of dark wizards and goblins at any time. My character was a she. The main character is a little OP, okay? Like, you can slaughter people, and it's not as difficult a game as I kind of wish it was, but I get that it has to be for all ages, so I'm not too frustrated with that. The only thing I will say about that is that every subsystem in the game, and there are many, and they all reflect Harry Potter. It's kind of beautiful. Every subsystem, from fantastic beasts owning and maintaining to anything from like potions making or spell learning, oh man, every single subsystem is basically, or herbology, as the case may be, using Mandrake in battle, right? That's fun. Every subsystem supports the main system, which is to say the combat, and that is the main focus of the game. So if you're not super into an action version of Harry Potter, where the wand wielding is everything, because it kind of is, I mean, and not everything, because there's so much to discover, there's so much to explore. Not only did they fully detail Hogwarts, they fully detailed the Hogwarts region. You can walk from Hogwarts to Hogsmeade, but you can also walk from Hogwarts to all these little hamlets and villages and discoveries and caves, and it's all standard open world stuff, but it's a good version of open world. It's not going to change any minds if you're tired of open world standard stuff. It's not going to change your mind about that, but it's still a good version of it. And so like I was saying, the subsystems only support the main system. So if you're looking for something that actually lets you feel like a Hogwarts student, you're going to be a little disappointed. But I don't think so. I mean, like, everything minus Quidditch, everything that should be here is absolutely here. They've stuffed so much Harry Potterisms into this one game. It's kind of stunning. It's fascinating. If you know the movies, if you know the books, if you know the visual language, if you know the literary language of Harry Potter, it's here. It's just here, and it's magnificent. Kind of in love with this game. Not gonna lie. Kind of totally in love with this game. So I'm gonna give Hogwarts Legacy a 9 out of 10. Very, very high score. Very, very good game. Okay? So don't play it if you feel the controversy is too much, but if you're so inclined, it's great.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Jeff Bowles Central. So we're checking out Baldur's Gate 3 on the PS5, which is really, really cool. I am not a huge PC gamer. I just never seem to have the oomph in a computer to do some serious PC gaming. So I'm mostly a console guy. If you watch my channel, you kind of know that about me. But one thing I absolutely love, especially in a game that is just so incredibly robust and dynamic and game-changing as Baldur's Gate 3, is some good old-fashioned split-screen multiplayer, man. Oh my god. When I heard that this game was coming to PS5 and that you could play it in split screen, I kind of lost. I flipped my wig. Okay, this wig that I'm wearing, I don't wear a wig, by the way, just to let you know. But this wig that I'm wearing, it flipped right off my head. And so here we are. This is now about 3 or 4 weeks after the game launched on PlayStation 5. It's about 2 months or so since the game launched from early access into actual availability, full availability on the PlayStation. I'm sorry, on the PC. I don't really know what to say about this game that hasn't been said, just the game itself, regardless of how it plays on PS5 in split screen, because that's really what this video is about. How this game plays on PS5 and specifically how it plays in split screen. But let's just talk about Baldur's Gate 3 real quick. It's widely becoming considered one of the most influential games of this year, the last 5 years, the last 10 years, pick. Especially as far as role-playing games go, but anything. And basically that comes down to how big it is, how fully fleshed out every nook, every cranny, every side character has something to offer. And your play will be completely different from the play of your friend. You make big choices early and often that influence everything that comes afterward. You get into these amazing turn-based D&D Dungeons and Dragons fights. You roll dice for Arcana checks and stuff like that. Wisdom checks and stuff, persuasion. The game is amazing, and it doesn't really matter if you know or love Dungeons and Dragons or not. If you do, it's a huge help. I'm also, in addition to not being much of a PC gamer, I'm not much of a tabletop role player. But I know everything there is to know about wanting to try it out now because I've played this delicious game. It's wonderful. It absolutely is the game of the year. Aside from how it plays on console. Now, The deal with this game is that they're bringing it to PlayStation 5, but not yet to Xbox. Originally, it wasn't going to come to Xbox at all. The reason being is the split screen itself. They weren't able to put split screen on the Xbox Series S, which is the lesser of the two options for Xbox available at the moment, right? So it's only on PS5 for the time being. It will be on Xbox here in the next few months, we believe. But again, the selling point of console, if you ask me, if you got a buddy to play with, not everybody's got a friend in the house, up the street, whatever it is, a brother, a sister, a wife. All this footage that you see here is my wife and I, okay? So, as you can see, there's a lot of concurrent events happening. She's talking to a specific NPC while I'm doing actions, looking around, looting. You can totally break up the parties and explore the entire map without being on the same screen. It's pretty cool. Because, again, it's so robust. Like, think of the most intelligent video game you've ever played and kind of crank that up a little. This is like the next notch up from what we've done before. This is a very exciting game. And so let's talk about some of the technical sides of developing a video game like this, and then deciding like a crazy person to port it to a lesser console, to a lesser system, which would be a video game console. From PC, it is a drop down if you're talking about the highest specs. And then furthermore, making it split screen, couch co-op, single couch. So the first thing that happens when you do that is you've got to double the world completely. The console has to manufacture the game world twice. So the first thing that happens is the frame rate gets cut in half. If you play this game solo on PS5, you're going to notice that it's in 60 frames a second. It looks smooth as butter. Okay? But then when you add that second on top of it, it splits the frame rate. But that also means there's going to be a lot of frame rate dips, and I mean it's often, especially if you're doing something like, say you're moving to your a campsite, which is kind of off the screen, and then your partner is doing dialogue or initiating some kind of action or just exploring. The slowdown on the screen, it lasts for about 3 to 5 seconds of complete dead stillness. Okay, so that's not just lag, that's not just slowdown, that is the game freezing for 5 seconds and then continuing, okay? So that happens often in split screen on PS5. It happens all the time. And we notice that the longer we play our game, the more hours we input into it, the more the slowdown seems to be occurring, and we've put a fair amount of hours into it now. So that's one of the things that gets sacrificed. Oddly enough, when you go from the split screen to a single screen, like say you're having a conversation and your partner decides to listen in, and then it wipes out the dual screen thing and goes to single screen, it pops back into 60 frames a second, and you're sort of left for a second a little disoriented by the frame rate change, kind of wishing it was always 60 frames a second, but it's a compromise you're willing to make. The other thing that's really troubling us is the partying system. Now, this is Dungeons and Dragons, so you need a party. If you try to do this alone or just the two of you, you're going to get tromped, okay, I promise. Not an easy game. If you play it on easy, no one's going to fault you for it. Not this one. This is a hard game, truly. I mean, I don't want to oversell it, whatever. Mileage may vary. But when you're partying up, you can have your character have one additional non-playable hero, or two, or you can split them. Every time we load the game from having stopped for a while, it completely disbands our party, and we have to spend, I don't know, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, going back to our campsite, dismissing them, asking them to join our party again, just so that we can have them all in one place and under our control, and following us, because like I said, you can split parties and travel whole across the map, and you didn't even notice you're missing your non-playables. So everything else seems to work okay as long as you're okay with the slowdown, as long as you're okay with some items tending to be a little mismanaged. Playing everything on a controller instead of a keyboard and mouse, it's hard to select objects a lot of the time. So we're not talking about a perfect port here. As much as I'd love this to be just as good as it is on PC, It's kind of not. So the score for this game is going to be an 8 out of 10, begrudgingly. The game itself is a 10 out of 10. And the game, if you play it on PS5 by yourself, is probably a 9 out of 10. But in split screen, I'm deducting 2 points. It's extremely addictive, but it's frustrating at times.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Jeff Bowles Central. We got another game review for you today. This one's kind of a special one because I've been looking forward to this game quite some time, ever since the first one came out. That game was called Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, and this is its sequel, Star Wars Jedi Survivor. Now, Fallen Order was a great game. I don't think anybody disputes that. Anybody who played that game can't tell me it wasn't a magnificent game. It was like the ultimate Jedi power trip fantasy. You know, because I've always wanted to be a Jedi, damn it. Ever since I was like, 4 years old, playing with flashlights, pretending they were lightsabers, and, broom handles, pretending they were lightsabers. I've always wanted to be a Jedi, and I love Star Wars, and you love Star Wars. I know you do. And so again, this is the sequel. What can you say? Well, there's a lot to say. First of all, everything is bigger. The worlds are bigger. The terrain is bigger. The enemy variety is bigger. The weapon, and I mean that, the weapon variety is bigger. It is just still a lightsaber, but sometimes you get a lightsaber and blaster if you want to be sacrilegious about the whole Jedi Order code of conduct. But the point is everything's bigger. There's just more of everything. And so inevitably, when you have an experience, it's got to be twice as big as the original game. Now, the original game wasn't huge. It wasn't like Elden Ring big. And I think that's one of the things that Respawn, the developer, in tandem with EA, wanted to do. They wanted to make it bigger, obviously. Inevitably, when you make a bigger experience, you introduce the possibility of error. And so there are some glitches in this game. It's a brand new game. It got a day one patch, and it just got a patch a couple days ago, okay? So we're talking here on May 5th, 2023. It just got a patch. It's going to get more. It'll be even better. By the time you watch this video, it might even be better. But know that if you're going to play this game, especially on PC, my friends, oh boy, I've heard some nutty stories about how it works on PC. But if you're going to play this game on PlayStation 5, if you're going to play it on Xbox Series X or Series S, all this footage is from Xbox Series X, just to let you know. 30 frames a second mode, because I like to keep it more cinematic with these games. Call me a kook. There are tons of errors. Less so on Xbox console. I actually had a pretty smooth ride. I had it crash twice, and both times were very upsetting because they both happened in places I would have preferred not to have the damn console crash, but it did. It crashed my brand new Xbox Series X, right? And it'll crash your PlayStation, it'll crash your PC. It may not a fatal crash, because I did have a save and I was able to replay, and the saves are pretty frequent as long as you make sure to save it, because you have to save at special meditation spots, basically. So just know that going in. But besides that, like I said, on Xbox, I had a pretty smooth run. It crashed twice, and the worst error that I really got was frame rate dips. And again, I'm purposely playing in 4K mode, so that's going to happen. But other than that, this has got to be the single greatest Star Wars fantasy trip that you're ever going to have. I cannot think of a single better Star Wars game. And I mean that. And, video games are an interesting thing because they're not just art, they're not just entertainment. They are technology, and technology advances. And technology advances very quickly. So what's great today in 10 years will seem kind of passé, kind of clumsy, kind of ugly looking to look at. Even a game like this will look a little stilted in 10 years. So know that when I say it's the best Star Wars experience in a video game form that I have ever had, that probably will be ruled out within a couple of years, because I guarantee you there's going to be a sequel, and I guarantee you that third game will really captivate me too. The point is that these games just keep getting better. The stories are deeper. Not everybody cares as much about story, but I figure if you're a Star Wars fan, you're here for story too. The story's deeper. It's a much more complex, nuanced tale. It's kind of about the main character, Cal Kestis. It's kind of about the ability to do good and to be a Jedi, right? And to still be kind of maybe making mistakes, or maybe be in the wrong vein. Like, are you just a warrior, or are you a keeper of the peace? Are you just someone who's trying to save people, or are you actually overstepping from a moral point of view? And Star Wars is all about morality. So I love the story, and I love the gameplay because it's just so fun. It's so fluid. There are numerous options to go after your foes. You have two stances that you can have equipped, two lightsaber stances, and they're different styles, completely different lightsaber styles. You have two stances equipped at all times. You get to choose from 5, and by the time you're about halfway through the game, you get all 5 of them. You get to build your lightsaber like it's Disneyland, okay? You get to customize all the materials and paints. This is my special Denver Broncos themed lightsaber. I made that for myself at one point. That's a football thing. It's an American football thing, in case you didn't know. Anyway, so what we have here is probably the best Star Wars game I've ever played, that has a lot of errors in it, a lot of glitches, fewer if you buy it on Xbox. But gosh, I mean, this was a 7-minute review. I couldn't have covered everything in 14 minutes. I'm telling you, it's a brilliant game. It gets a 9 out of 10 from me. Would have been a 10 out of 10 if not for those issues. So, whew, let's take a load off now. Let's.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Jeff Bowles Central. We're doing a game review for you today. We're checking out Alan Wake 2 from Remedy Entertainment, which is a pretty highly anticipated sequel to a game that came out 13 years ago, believe it or not, was when the first Alan Wake came out. A bit of a confession, I did not actually play Alan Wake in 2010 when it came out. I have no idea why it wasn't on my radar, but it is a game that I did miss out on that year. Lots of other stuff was coming out at that time, but to tell you the truth, I'm not super into horror gaming. But when a really, really excellent one comes along, like Alan Wake 2, and I already happen to know it's excellent just because of what people have been saying about it and what Remedy has been saying about it, I had to try it. But I didn't get a chance to actually play the original Alan Wake until I checked out the remastered one for Xbox Series X. I checked that out a few months ago. And I loved the original game for its eccentricities, for its boldness as a story-telling engine, yeah. But I gotta tell you, Alan Wake 2 just blows it out of the water in every single possible way. Alan Wake 1 was a great game, and it was good for its time, but it hasn't actually aged all that beautifully. Believe it or not, if you're a fan of the original one, I dare you to play this one through, and then play the first one and tell me that the first one isn't kind of clunky by comparison, very old-fashioned. And you know, it's 13 years ago, so back then it was cutting edge, so whatever. But what's really cool about this game is that Remedy learned a ton from all the expansions that Alan Wake had, the original Alan Wake, but also from their game Control. Now, when Control came out a few years ago, Jeff Bowles Central, I gave it one of my Game of the Year slots, like that matters to anybody. But anyway, I gave it one of my Game of the Year slots, and you know, it was so mind-bending, that game. Like, I loved every second of Control. Holy cow. Like, again, the funny thing is that I actually am a horror writer. I do write a lot of horror. Sometimes unintentionally, that's just how it comes out of me. But if you, like, you know that I'm a writer. If you've been on my channel, you know that I'm a writer and a musician. But I'm actually not that into experiencing horror in any form. Like, I wasn't really raised on it. That's just how it is with me, right? But, you know, and Control wasn't you wouldn't necessarily call it horror, but it was definitely detached from reality and scary, which, you know, most good horror kind of is. I mean, that game had it all going on, but, like, look at this footage from this. This is a music video / dark escapist / dark realm. Everything's infested and evil. It's a game within a game, a story within a story. There's 2 characters, not just one main hero. You've got Alan Wake, but you've also got Saga Anderson. This is who this is, and she's like, and actually her campaign, her half of the story, to me was the more enjoyable part to play, just because it was the most down to earth, and that's like a phrase you won't hear thrown at this game very often, down to earth. But so back to my point, Control was an incredible game. They obviously learned a ton. Now they're back with Alan Wake. And this thing is it just floors me at every single turn. Like, it's number one, it's beautiful. It's funny. It's dark. It's scary. It's so surreal and so quirky that you just can't help but fall in love with it, especially if you're like into Twin Peaks, for instance, or True Detective, or any of these kind of like more slightly off-kilter detective type experiences. You know, the first game was kind of built on this conception of it being like a long DVD show series marathon, because that's actually when it came out, when DVD binging was a new thing, right? And this kind of relies more on some more like interwoven. It's like imagine a piece of like tempered samurai steel, like a nice Japanese samurai sword, and how they fold all these intricate layers of steel to make one solid cutting edge. Like, that's how I imagine this game, and that's like, unfortunately, in order to talk about it, you've got to kind of use abstract terms like that, because it's not going to be like anything you've ever tried before. But what's really cool about it is that just kind of describes the tone, the settings, the characters, you know, everything about the story. But what it doesn't describe is the action, and the action is actually really spot on. Like, the action in the first Alan Wake was probably one of the better things about it. The action in Control, it was consistently excellent, and the action in this game is really, really fun. The actual moment-to-moment combat, all the puzzle solving, just the blending of mixed media. Like a shot like this, where Saga is using her special, well, I don't want to spoil it, but her special ability to see things, connections in cases, as an FBI agent that others couldn't see. Notice how it's mixing like actual rendered video game footage and live action. It's more like the feeling that washes over you as you actually try to experience it. So I'm going to stop talking about abstract things and get you down to brass tacks. So the game itself is maybe like maybe 15 hours all around, maybe 20 hours if you're a completionist. And there are lots of little side things. If you don't explore in this game, you're kind of not doing it right. So all those manuscript pages that Alan was famous for, because this is again, it's hard to explain, but it's a story about a writer who's trapping people in his own creation while being trapped in his creation while something even darker than all of that is looming. That's about as close as you get to anything completely concrete. Even by the end of the game, you're still kind of shaking your head as to what the whole thing was about. But I don't think you're disappointed. And again, part of that is because the fighting, the combat, the gunplay is just really spot on. They invented this thing where you have to hit your enemies with your flashlight first to kind of burn away the impurity, and then they're open to gunfire, right? But there's also a cool dodge mechanic, and another great thing about Alan Wake 2 is that the enemy variety has been increased significantly. So there's really no horrible way to approach this game. It is mind-bending. The story sucks you in from the first get-go. You can complete most of the levels in any order that you want. You can hop from Saga to Alan and back and forth. So, I mean, I don't know how good of a review that was, but you can tell that I'm kind of glowing about it. Play it if you can stomach it. The horror. If you can stomach it, play it. Because I promise you it's going to be a very unique experience, not like something you're probably likely to play anywhere else at this time, the year 2023. So I'm giving Alan Wake 2 a 9 out of 10. So I reserve 10 out of 10s for truly mind-bending and revolutionary experiences. This is so close to a 10, I can't even tell you. It's definitely better than Alan 1. And I feel it's better than Control. But I love Control too, so don't get me wrong about that. So that's it. Like, subscribe, kablamo! Hey everybody, welcome back to Jeff Bowles Central. We got another game review for you today. This is a good one, okay? This is a special one because I personally, I don't know about you, but I've been a Marvel fan my whole life, and specifically I've been a Spider-Man fan my whole life. My brother got me into Spider-Man when I was a kid. Got me into comic book reading and comic book collecting, and I still kind of read comic books to this day. Go to all the Marvel movies. You know how it be. So this is Spider-Man 2. You might ask, what was Spider-Man 1? Well, if you're not in the know, Spider-Man 1 was a PS4 exclusive. Came out 5 years ago. And you know they did a remaster on PS5, which was just glorious. And then they made a small secondary game about Miles Morales, who is the second Spider-Man in this, not just Peter Parker now. We got Miles Morales. If you're familiar with the Spider-Verse cartoon movies, which are amazing. God, I love those movies. They're so colorful and so cool. You'll know Miles. You'll know his story. This is Spider-Man 2. This is the sequel to that first PS4 game, and it does not disappoint. I was super excited for this all year long, maybe more than a year, and I'm happy to report that this game nails it. It doesn't nail it on all fronts. There's still some peculiarities with this specific series that I kind of wish that they would just kind of... well, they have tried to address. They have tried to address it. You know what? A big feature of this game is also the fact that it's got Venom in it. This is a story about the symbiote suit, the black suit, which Peter Parker gets. You know, about a third of the way through the game, maybe a quarter of the way through the game. And it sets up all this drama and all this pandemonium. The story's great. If you're used to Spider-Man storytelling, this is a good one. This is one for the ages. Especially since it incorporates Miles so beautifully. I love Miles Morales. He's a newer Star Wars, jeez. He's a newer Spider-Man character. He's a newer Spider-Man. He was created for the Ultimate Universe in the comic books, and they allowed him to make the jump to the main universe just because he's cool. He comes from a slightly different place from a narrative perspective. He comes from a different cultural background than Pete, but he because of what he's been through and who he is, he's just as dedicated to helping out the little guy, he's just as dedicated to this principle that, with great power comes great responsibility. He's a great hero. He's a great Spider-Man. And what's really cool about this game, they're good foils for each other because Peter, he's been around. He's been doing this for over 10 years at this point, as far as I can tell. That's my guess. It's about 10 years. So he's teaching Miles the ropes. He's teaching Miles to be a Spider-Man. And that's a great kickoff for the story, but that's not where the story really ends, because as we all know, as soon as this symbiote black suit, this Venom suit gets involved, all bets are off, and things start turning a little bit darker for Peter Parker, and his friends start having to deal with that. So, you know what? It's a really excellent story. You're not gonna have any problems with that. The game looks amazing. I don't think I have to convince you of that. If you have eyes and you are watching this video right now, you can see just how incredible it is. This is like the first PS5 game where my jaw was on the floor. Now, I'll say that God of War Ragnarok was another of those type of experiences, but I feel like this outdoes it. I mean, it's just every moment is epic, even if you're not really doing that much. Even if you're just like sitting on a rooftop, perched, looking out over New York City, it's like it's great. It's such a wonderful full experience. And again, Insomniac Games, the developer, they realized they didn't really have to reinvent the wheel completely. The city, New York, is a little bit bigger. It's got a couple of the boroughs. It's got Queens and Brooklyn now. And I think that Manhattan itself is a little bit bigger, if I'm not mistaken. So there's more to see. There's more to do. My main complaint overall, and it's not much of one, but it is a bit of one, it's that some of the time it gets kind of same. And this isn't really necessarily just a problem with this game. This is kind of a problem with all modern open world adventure action games. They have to populate the world with stuff to do, and it gets same. It loses a lot of its variety. And Spider-Man 2 is not really different. The cool thing that Insomniac always understood was that if you have to fight crime on the side, which Spider-Man absolutely does to complete the experience, they should make it so that you're earning ways of like unlocking new suits, because the suits are where it's at, all these cool Spider-Man suits. Or unlocking new technology for your web shooters, or giving yourself a health boost, or giving yourself a speed boost, or whatever it is. So doing the side activities means something in the Spider-Man games, but it's like, how many times can you stop the same speeding car from almost killing people in the middle of Manhattan? It sounds exciting, and it is, but it is kind of, after a while, it gets kind of the same. And again, this is a complaint about all open world games at this point. It's not just Spider-Man. So, you know what? The action, the actual combat and stuff here. See, like stopping this car. You stop this car a lot. Looks great, but you do it a lot. Anyway, the action is pretty spectacular. Again, like there's not much variation between the way the different playables fight. So Miles Morales and Peter Parker fight pretty similarly, even though their powers are different. It's the same button layout, so you're going to be familiar from one character, and you're never going to feel lost. But again, it kind of plays into this sameness. And like I said, big surprise, Venom is in this game. But again, he kind of, not to spoil too much. Really, I don't want to spoil this because this is a great story and it deserves to be discovered. Even Venom is a little bit samey, although it's whatever. I'm not going to spoil it. So that's Spider-Man, man. Like, they've added mobility is an improvement. They've added this wingsuit, these web wings to your spider suit, so that you can now glide a certain ways. And they've added all these kind of wind tunnels throughout the city, so that if you catch one, in your web wings, you get carried, as far as you could ever want to go. And I worried when I saw this invention I worried that it was going to take away from the web swinging, because to me, the web swinging is the thing that this game is just so delightful. And it's the thing that long-standing Spider-Man video game fans know goes all the way back to the original Spider-Man 2, which was actually just the game for the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man 2 movie. Everybody knows that was like the first time Spider-Man was really done right in a video game. So the web wings don't take away from that, though. You're still mostly using your standard method of traversing the city plus the web wings. It's a great addition. I have absolutely no complaints about that. I don't have much to say about this game other than wow. Again, I am a Spider-Man fan. Again, my brother really beat that into me gently with love and with fun, because, you know, they had that awesome Spider-Man cartoon in the 90s. I grew up with that. It showed me all there was to know about this character and about this world. And this game doesn't disappoint on that level either, because there's plenty of side characters and bosses that are just going to be kind of surprising for Spider-Man fans. So, whew, that's what I got to say about Spider-Man 2. There's so much more to say, but you know, I'm trying to keep this to a 10-minute video, so that's it. I'm giving Spider-Man 2 a 9 out of 10. Such a great game, such a fun experience. If you have any affinity for this character or for Marvel Comics, or if you just love an amazing action game and you have a PlayStation 5, try it out. You shall not be disappointed. So like and subscribe, hit the little notification bell. Kablam! All right. So this is the part of the video where I advertise my music to you. Believe me, nobody wants it to be over quicker than I do. This is Bridges Burned by Audiophile. That's me. You can check it out on Spotify, iTunes, Pandora, Amazon Music, Tidal, whatever. Any streaming platform you can imagine, including right here on YouTube, on my YouTube channel. Just navigate to my channel and go to my albums. You'll see it there. It's a great album. Tons of cool music. Again, you won't be disappointed. Bye-bye, everybody. Have a good day.
Rabbits down the hole again.